There are seasons in life when the ground itself seems to shift beneath your feet. When the news is frightening, the future is uncertain, and the things you counted on as solid begin to crack and give way. In those seasons, God's people have reached for 3,000 years for one particular psalm, Psalm 46. It is a psalm written for the worst days, for earthquakes and wars, for collapse and chaos and fear, and it does not pretend those things away. It looks the shaking world square in the eye, mountains falling into the sea, nations raging, the earth itself dissolving. And then it says something almost defiant: we will not fear. Not because the danger is not real, but because of who is with us in the middle of it. This is the psalm that gave the church its great hymn, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." And it is the psalm that ends with four of the most famous words in all of Scripture. Be still, and know that I am God. So if your world is shaking right now, if you are afraid or overwhelmed or bracing for what comes next, this psalm was written for you. It will not tell you the storm is not coming. It will tell you where to stand when it does. Come and walk through Psalm 46 and find the refuge that does not move. The psalm opens with a declaration, plain and strong, that sets the foundation for everything that follows. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Look at each word, because everyone carries weight. God is our refuge, a shelter, a hiding place, a stronghold we can run into when the storm hits. He is our strength, not only a place to hide, but the power to stand, to endure, to keep going when our own strength is gone. And then the phrase that changes everything: a very present help in trouble. Not a distant help, not a help that arrives eventually after the worst is over. A very present help, near, available, already here, in the trouble, not after it. This is the difference between knowing about God and knowing God as your refuge. Anyone can believe, in the abstract, that God is powerful, but the person who has actually run to Him in trouble, who has hidden in Him when everything was falling apart, knows something deeper. That He is not watching your storm from a safe distance. He is in it with you, right now, a very present help. And there is a quiet invitation hidden in that. A refuge does you no good if you only admire it from across the field while the storm breaks over your head. It shelters the one who runs inside. So this verse is not merely asking you to believe that God is a refuge somewhere, in theory. It is asking you to run to Him today and let Him be yours. And it is on that foundation, and only that foundation, that the psalm can dare to say what it says next. Because here is what the psalmist dares to say, once he has planted his feet on the character of God. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Sit with the size of that image. The mountains were the most permanent, immovable things the ancient world knew, the very symbol of what could never be shaken. And the psalmist pictures even them torn loose and hurled into the roaring sea. Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. This is total upheaval. It is the picture of your whole world coming apart, the solid things dissolving, the permanent things crumbling, the sea of chaos swallowing what you thought could never fall. And notice the word the psalm chooses: therefore. Therefore we will not fear. Not, we do not fear because nothing bad will happen. He has just described the worst thing happening, the earth itself removed. The therefore does not rest on the calm of the circumstances. It rests entirely on the refuge from the very first verse. Because God is our refuge and strength, therefore even if the mountains fall into the sea, we will not be afraid. The psalm is not denying the storm. It is anchoring you to something that outlasts it. Your security was never the mountains. It was the God who made them. And then, right in the middle of all that roaring chaos, the psalm does something beautiful. It goes quiet. There is a river, it says, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. Picture the contrast. Outside the city, the sea roars and the mountains crash, violent, loud, destructive water. But inside the city of God, there is a river, calm, steady, life-giving, its gentle streams making the city glad. The world's chaos is a raging sea. God's presence is a quiet river. And here is a detail the first readers would have caught. The city of Jerusalem had no great river running through it. So this river is not a geographic fact. It is a picture of God himself, his presence flowing like living water through the middle of his people, bringing gladness and life while the world outside falls apart. And because that river is there, because God himself is there, the psalm makes a promise. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The city does not need thick walls or high mountains to keep it safe. It has something far better. God is in the midst of her. That is the whole secret. When God is in the center of a life, that life may be shaken, but it will not be moved. And his help does not come too late. God shall help her, and that right early, at the break of dawn, exactly when she needs it. And if you have ever lain awake through a long, dark night of worry, you know what that promise is worth. The help of God has a way of arriving with the morning, right at the edge of the moment you were certain you could not last another hour. The psalm pulls back now to show the whole raging world at once. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The nations are in an uproar. Kingdoms rise and fall, armies march, empires threaten and collapse. All the tumult of human history, all the powers that seem so terrifying and so permanent. And then God simply speaks. He uttered his voice, and the earth melted. That is the scale of it. The raging nations that fill us with dread are, before God, no more solid than wax before a flame. He does not need to raise an army. He speaks a single word, and the mightiest powers on earth dissolve. The things you fear are not bigger than the God who is with you. And then comes the refrain, the heartbeat of the entire psalm. So important, it is repeated twice, once here and once at the very end. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Weigh both of those titles. The Lord of hosts, the commander of all the armies of heaven, the God with infinite power at his command. And then, the God of Jacob. Not, notice, the God of Abraham the faithful, or the God of some spotless hero. The God of Jacob, the schemer, the deceiver, the man who wrestled and limped and failed and doubted, and whom God refused to let go of anyway. That title is deliberate. It means the God of this psalm is the God of the struggling believer, the God of the person who has not gotten it all right, who is barely holding on. He is your refuge too. And then, the single word, the whole verse turns on. With us. The Lord of hosts is with us. Not just powerful somewhere far away, watching from a distant heaven. With us. That little phrase carries the entire hope of the Bible inside it. And one day, God would make it a name. He would come to earth himself as a child called Emmanuel, which means God with us. All that infinite power, all that covenant faithfulness, on your side, in your corner, in the flesh, in the middle of the storm. That is the anchor. That is why we do not fear. The psalm moves toward its close by inviting you to look, really look, at what God has done. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow, and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. The God of this psalm is not only a refuge to hide in, he is the one who will finally end all the chaos. He breaks the weapons of war. He is moving history toward a day when the raging finally stops for good. And then, out of the middle of all of it, the shaking earth, the roaring sea, the raging nations, the breaking of weapons, comes the voice of God himself, with the command the whole psalm has been building toward. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Be still. In the original language, it carries the sense of ceasing, letting go, dropping your hands, stopping your frantic striving. It is God speaking to a panicked, exhausted, white-knuckled soul and saying, "Stop. Stop striving. Stop trying to control what you cannot control. Stop being afraid, and know that I am God." The stillness is not passive resignation, it is active trust. It is the deep breath of a soul that finally remembers who is actually in charge. You are not God, and you were never meant to hold the world together. He is God, and He is holding it, and you, right now. So be still, and know. So Psalm 46 ends where it began, with the refrain one final time. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. The whole psalm is held together by that single, steadying truth, repeated because we so quickly forget it. God is with us. And do not miss how the whole psalm has moved. It began in chaos, earthquakes, floods, falling mountains, raging nations. It ends in stillness. Be still and know. And the thing that carried it from panic to peace was never a change in the circumstances. The mountains are still shaking at the end of the psalm. The nations are still raging. What changed was where the psalmist was standing. He moved from staring at the storm to resting in the refuge. And when God is your refuge, you can be in the middle of the worst storm of your life and still be still. So wherever you are today, whatever is shaking, whatever you are bracing for, whatever fear is sitting on your chest right now, hear the psalm speak directly to you. God is your refuge and strength, a very present help in your trouble. He is with you. He has not left, and He is inviting you, in the middle of it all, to stop striving, to stop being afraid, and to rest. Be still, and know that He is God. The mountains may fall, He will not. Run to Him. He is a refuge that does not move. If Psalm 46 met you where you are, take a moment before you go and simply be still before the Lord, and let Him be your refuge today. Share this with someone whose world is shaking right now. They may need to hear that God is a very present help. And tell me in the comments where you most need Him to be your refuge. We will keep walking through these songs together, one at a time. The Psalter has more to give.